Welcome to Community, the TV show. I'm Kathy Antunes, guest hosting for Annette Sherman. Today we have the leadership of Sarasota's Teen Court. And you might have thought, as I did, teen court sounds just like a mock trial type of court, but actually it's far more than that. I'd like to introduce to you Heather Todd. She is the Executive Director of Teen Court, so thank you, Heather, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Our next guest is Andrea Alvarez, and she is a Teen Court volunteer and board member. Andrea, thank you
Thank
so
you
much
for having me.
Absolutely. And then finally, Emma Joles, who is a local attorney, sports philanthropist. We're going to talk about that a bit, and also a board member of Sarasota Teen Court. Emma, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'd like to start with, what is Teen Court? Because I had my own ideas about what it is, and actually it's really a lot more than I thought. So Heather.
Absolutely. First, we were the first in the state of Florida. So in 1988, we opened our doors. We operate as a nonprofit, and we give young people that have made a poor choice a second chance, free of a conviction on their record. That could close doors of opportunity. But equally as important, we have the clients. We have this volunteer side. So we have over 300 young people that volunteer as jurors, that volunteer as clerks, as bailiffs, and as teen attorneys.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's basically a peer-to-peer experience. And Andrea, when we're talking about peers of yours who have made a bad choice, how, what kind of a choice might that be, and how do they find themselves in teen court?
Okay. Well, the convictions can vary. We have everything from possession charges, sometimes traffic violations, in-school bullying, different things.
And so obviously then this is a situation where someone in high school or possibly middle school is encounters the justice system because of their behavior.
Yes.
And so, young people often make bad decisions, but instead of going through the criminal system, they come to you.
Yes.
Who refers them? How does that work?
They can be referred by school officials who see that it was a poor choice, but they want to give them a second chance because they think they can bounce back from it. We also get some of our local law enforcement who will refer them.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, so one of the things in preparing for the show that I was hugely impressed by is the recidivism rate of young people who encounter teen court. And how about, Heather, tell us about that, because
Absolutely.
it's phenomenal.
It is. It really is. It just shows if you empower a young person with responsibility, the amazing way that they can change the world and they can change their peers. And an example being, if a young person's referred to teen court for a theft offense, they have to tell their peers in a courtroom exactly what happened. That jury is going to listen to the facts of the case. Emma, for example, will preside as the judge that evening. The prosecuting and defending attorneys will be teenagers. The clerk and the bailiff in the courtroom will be teenagers. And that jury will listen to that young person tell their side of the story. Teen court is a sentencing hearing. So the young people that come through teen court have taken responsibility. We don't like to say admit guilt. We like to say take responsibility for their actions, because there's a story that goes along with why they made that decision at that moment. And so they're going to tell exactly what happened, and that jury is going to give them meaningful consequences. They're going to get between 8 and 50 hours of community service. They're going to get between 1 and 6 jury duties. They're going to come back and serve on a jury for other kids, just like these kids served on their jury.
Oh,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And planting the seed of volunteerism. The young people, last year we had over 500 kids. This year we're probably going to have about 575 clients that we planted the seed of civic engagement. And then they were empowered with the responsibility to mentor their peers and to give back in their community. It's very, 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 very special. And again, operating as a non-for-profit allows us, as we see a need, we're able to implement a program. So Teen Court isn't just that sentencing hearing. We call it Justice for Youth by Youth.
Okay.
We also do drug testing. We also have a substance abuse program. We have a huge mental health need right now, and the young people are able to have free mental health services from private clinicians here in our community that we partner with, and they get those services free of charge thanks to a Florida Blue grant that we have right now. So as we see a need for a young client that we have and volunteer, we're able to wrap them in what I say love, but also services,
Yes.
and really serve these young people in a way that allows them to make better choices moving forward and move on from those poor choices, because that doesn't define them.
Yeah,
So.
it's fantastic. And Emma, you know, the number that I've read in your literature is the recidivism rate is only 6 to 9%, meaning the rate of reoffense for young folks who go through teen court is so minimal, 6 to 9%. You're an attorney. What kind of result is that compared to, you know, the real world, let's say?
Well, it's phenomenal, and obviously comparing it to the criminal, if a child goes through the criminal justice system, they've got such a poor chance of success. I've been involved in teen court in Sarasota for over 20 years as a judge, and also as on the board and as president of the organization, because I mean, I just so believe in it. And the one thing I do want to emphasize is that even though I said as a judge, and Heather mentioned it as a judge, we really concentrate on it being a teen court. In other words, the teens are doing everything. The adult judge is really there just to make sure that everything runs smoothly, not to impose their self into the procedure.
Yeah, so I'd like to ask you, actually I'd love a bit of feedback from you all on this, because this idea of restorative justice, that plays a significant role in your approach. And why don't we start with you, Emma, and go down the line, but you know, from your professional perspective, what is restorative justice, and why is it different, why does it work?
Well, the idea that you're not necessarily, it's not punishing, you really want to educate, to really provide a better way, better course. So you're, in other words, you're not. We also, the other issue is you don't want to look at it as reform, because you really want to look at it as really restoration, starting from scratch, and really giving somebody a blank sheet to start with, as opposed to being punitive. That's really the whole force.
Yeah, I like the word restorative only because it implies that you're going back to, you know, who your better self, right? Where you really should be, or where you started. So Andrea, tell me how restorative justice, you know, from your perspective, you're a teen, these are your peers. Do they appreciate the difference? Do they
I definitely think they appreciate it. You can, even when I'm talking with them before we go into court, I can see how they feel bad about what they did, and a lot of the times they look at what their decision was, and they see how they could have done it better. They'll tell me, I really shouldn't have done that. Instead, I should have stood up to whoever was messing with me. I should have asked for help. And I think with Ms. Heather calls them the meaningful consequences, the jury duties and the community service hours, it really has an impact on them, because they can decide what they want to do with those consequences. They can focus on things that benefit them. They can work with other people. And I think that really does have an impact on them, and it really helps them turn their life around.
Yeah, and again, with this model of restorative justice, Heather, it sounds like the consequences truly are tailored to the individual. Am I correct?
Absolutely. So, and
Yeah.
I love the word restorative strategies as well. So when our case managers sit down with the client, they have to look at the individual. It's not just, oh, every petty theft gets this, or every possession of marijuana gets this, or every battery gets this. We have to see what that young person is going through. And everything from the transportation situation to, are they able to get out into the community and do volunteer hours? What's going on in their world that maybe they need to do something a little bit different. Everyone can't certainly get to the community service hours, but also some young people can't function in an environment that might expect them to work with animals or off-face food banks, some of these amazing organizations that we partner with for the young people to do community service hours, that's not the perfect fit for every young person too. So we have amazing case managers that look at every young person, not as a number, it's not a case number, it is the young person that we're working with, the family that's sitting in front of them. And that's important to mention as well. Every family has different situations.
Yeah.
Every family, so over 70% of the young people we serve are on or below the poverty level. 5% qualify as homeless. So we really have to look at the big picture when we work with a client. And then again, I use that word empowering often because we have to empower them in their situation. And that also includes having a dismissal of the offense and not having a conviction, which is huge because they need to be able to apply to the military and get in. They need to be able to apply to that college or to that profession and that job, whether it's an electrician, a plumber, whatever that looks like for them, a teacher, a law enforcement officer. They need to have this dismissed because everyone makes poor choices and they just have to get this put behind them. And that's what we do at Teen Court. It allows them to get back out there and make better choices with knowledge and education.
Yeah. So, yeah, because at such a young age, you know, when you're in your teenage years, the last thing, you think you're going to live forever and that whatever you do doesn't really matter. And of course, with more maturity, we all understand that's not the case. I'm curious because bullying is something that you all are able to intervene with. And for a couple of reasons. I mean, bullying, it appears, might be a precursor to more serious problems. Tell me about the intervention with bullying cases, because that isn't necessarily something people get arrested for. How does that come to you, and how does it work? How do those offenses work through the system? And maybe, Emma, I'll start with you, and Andrea, I'm really curious your perspective too.
And I'm going to defer actually on this one because
Okay.
I really think that Heather would probably be better on the process with the bullying, and I wouldn't want to misrepresent that.
I think we agree. Our favorites are the ones that comes from school because they they see it the earliest.
Yeah.
And so when administrators send a young person, whether it's they've seen something on social media going on, or family members have experienced, I will say that a lot of the young people we serve are actually the victim. And they finally stood up for themselves.
Okay.
And our goal is to give them the tools to handle it differently in the future because we tell them for the rest of their lives, you're not going to like someone or someone's going to bully you or someone's going to say the wrong thing for the rest
Yeah.
of your lives. At our age,
Yeah.
at your grandparents' age, how can you handle it differently in the future? And I see you all doing a really good job in the courtroom of constructive sentences.
Yes.
And kind of, I don't know if you want to touch on that, some
Yeah.
of those different sentences that you all give them.
So one of the main things is we'll sometimes ask the jury for an apology letter. We use those in different circumstances. And it's a step for them to apologize for what they did. Because sometimes those bullying, it leads to a fight. And we get a lot of those. And obviously, they want to stick up for themselves, and they want their peers to understand that. And we do. Nobody likes to get pushed around,
Right.
but the steps that they're taking aren't necessarily right. And we try to, both the prosecution and the defense, try to provide them opportunity to see how they could have gone about it. We like to recommend that they talk to some guidance counselors and maybe even talk to that individual face to face instead of getting in their face. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ways that we try to let them see, and sometimes even the jury will come up with something on their own that they think this individual really needs to overlook or focus on. So.
Yeah, and again, social media has to be an aspect with bullying and all this interaction. So Heather, you've been there for 20 years. How has the climate changed, and
Sure.
what do you all do with
yes.
social media?
And so going back to implementing services as we see a need, we have a risky behaviors class. And sometimes the facilitator is focused primarily on sexting offenses. And that's something that Teen Court serves that population. when the young people are taking pictures of themselves or videos and sending them. And then sometimes the climate changes, like you just said, and we're talking only about the cyberbullying and the social media responsibility. And every month is different. Every month is different. We have to also give credit where credit's due as far as the mental health counseling piece with Teen Court, the coping mechanisms. We have to have these young people learn coping mechanisms. And that mental health counseling is for the child, but it's also, we serve the family. Because they can't go home to a family, and I get it, a dad that says, punch him out,
Right.
you
Well,
know,
and
and
that's
because
kind of a
that's
traditional
old school,
response.
absolutely, and
Right?
I get it,
Yeah.
but they can't, because they're going to be at teen court again, or worse, they're going to be in juvenile court, or someone's really going to get hurt. So we have to empower the young person and the family as a whole with better ways to handle these bullies, and they're bullies, and it's real, and it is happening.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, all these behaviors are probably an attempt to solve a problem. It's just not a healthy,
100%. Yeah.
way to solve a problem. So this model's been so successful, and Emma, you've been involved for so long. But tell us how Sarasota Teen Court is different from the rest of the state of Florida.
Well, the great thing about Sarasota is that it's a non-profit teen court. The majority of the other teen courts in the state of Florida are run by the court system, which is fine. I mean, they obviously all operate, very well. I think there's only 2 other nonprofits. But the great thing for us is the independence. So the fact is, it's great because obviously we're not part of a court system. We're not answering to any legislative body or judicial body.
Yeah.
But also it means that we can adapt quickly to needs. In other words, if we have our programs have changed. That's what's so fabulous about the program that Heather runs, because she really has made it so relevant to whatever is happening quickly. So in other words, we've changed a lot, and we've done more things that are involved with nutrition and really the healthfulness, as opposed to, again, the punitive ways that we may have thought were correct several years ago. We have to change with what society is saying, what works.
Right, because I mean, I've got to come back to your success rate. So recidivism, and maybe we should say it the other way, you have a 91 to 94%
Correct.
success rate
That's right.
in helping these young people drop the behavior that got them in trouble and just find a healthier way to function and behave. That's just phenomenal.
And if I can add also to the juries, I mean, I think the importance of the juries cannot be understated, because, cannot be overstated, because the jury is made up of both clients, people who've been through the system, but also volunteers. And you don't know, obviously, which is which. And so when people usually think, oh, teens are going to be really soft on their peers, they're not going to, but they're not, and they really, really reconsider things intelligently. So we ask, as the judges, when the juries come back, we'll ask the jurors why they determined as a body, on their constructive sentence. And it's really interesting because, obviously as adults, we're so out of touch in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we don't live in their world, right?
So
they live in a different world than we did.
It's so great to hear. And also it's very helpful for the client, who's going to the defendant, to hear why they've made the determinations. Because sometimes, very often, it's like, we just didn't believe her or him. They didn't seem to be really remorseful, and it's really, they have to hear that.
Yeah, they need to open up to that. And Andrea, you are a potential lawyer, as I understand.
Yes.
Yeah. So how has Teen Court influenced, your interest in the law and maybe your future career path?
Yeah, well, like I said, I've always wanted to be an attorney, so I'm not sure which area of expertise I'm going to go into, but I feel like it's allowed me to fulfill my passion to help other people, and working with my peers has made it an unbelievable experience because I actually make an impact in their lives. I can be that one speck of light that maybe they need in their dark world, and it makes me happy when I see them come back, even after they finish their sentences. They keep volunteering and they keep helping other kids. But in the courtroom, it's helped me with public speaking. It's helped me get a grasp on how you really can help your defendant, or how you can ensure that they receive the proper sentencing for their decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So it really just gives you an idea of what it's like in a courtroom and how to handle yourself in last minute situations where you have to come up with these questions. You need to make a response, or change your decision based on their testimony.
Yeah, I imagine it's helpful to all the young people who are, like you say, the volunteers. They're not necessarily, they're not the ones who've had an infraction.
Yeah.
But everybody, you're at a point in life where you're making decisions about moving forward. So, yeah. There's a book that was a bestseller for a long time, and the similarity is striking to me. And it was actually a book about golf. And the author of that book, it was Harvey Penick's Little Red Book of Golf. But he says you don't tell someone you're teaching what not to do. You show them what to do, because the brain only hears positive. But you're doing that. It sounds like you're just doing that, which is terrific because you're so successful. But nonprofits need support, don't they, Heather?
Yes,
right?
yes.
This doesn't happen without any funding, or where do you get your funding?
It's funding because it's a hard audience to raise money for, which is so funny because we've all made poor choices, but it is. People love cats and dogs, and I do as well. And other.
But people matter.
Kids,
people are important.
Kids, and we check a lot of boxes. We certainly check. Like I shared, we have young people that are struggling. Their families are struggling financially. We check the box of our young people, volunteers and clients are our future leaders. And they are the young people that are struggling with some health concerns. I mean, it's the mental health piece. So at Teen Court, we have a little bit of everybody and a little bit of everything. We do the same thing that other organizations, 501c3s do. We have fundraisers. We have a golf tournament every year.
Okay.
We also have a scholarship night. We give, last year, 11 young people a college scholarship or trade school scholarship or military, because they still need gas money. They still need a computer to write home on. We gave $11,000 in scholarships away, and 2 of those were our clients. So the different fundraisers that we have, money goes to different things. Yes.
So how do people get in touch with you
Sure.
and learn
Absolutely.
more about what you're doing?
So first of all, we have an open door policy. Come and see what we do. We have a location in Venice, Northport, and Sarasota on our calendar, which you can find at www.sarasotateencourt.org, sarasotateencourt.org,
Okay.
or Google it.
Yes.
And certainly call us, and our phone number is 941-861-8460. But yes, there's a donate button on our website.
Okay, right, which is always helpful.
Yeah, it's really helpful.
Yeah.
And right now we just went through Giving Tuesday, and we have an end of the year push. And all of the money, depending on where the donor would like it to go, it can go to our substance abuse program, where we have a Saturday where we take the young people in a rented van and we go to the Salvation Army, the morgue, the emergency room. We partner with Sarasota Police Department in that, and we do the physical piece, and we talk about mindfulness. And we talk about that fitness and nutrition piece that Emma spoke of. Just talking about what you're putting into your body. You can't tell maybe right now because you're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, but
it will show up later.
It will rebound.
It does show up.
Yes. So depending on where the donor would like the money to go, we can make sure it goes there. But yes, we cannot operate without this community support, and we really appreciate. But grants, donations, fundraising, we are very, very fortunate to make all of the puzzle pieces fit every year.
And
but
it's hard work. And we can look at that schedule, and if we want to, we can come and look. And so, Andrea, if we were to come, we only have a few minutes left, but tell us, what would we find if we came?
All right, when you would come, you'd come in and you'd see all hundreds of volunteers. We get hundreds of volunteers every night. They're all deciding which courtroom they're going to go in. You would find a courtroom to go in. You'd sit down. We'd do the oath of confirmation, swear in the jury, and then we'd begin opening statements on
So it really is
prosecution,
kind of it really is a trial.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a courtroom,
Okay.
and we
Yeah.
encourage everybody
Emma.
to come see it, because if you see it, you won't believe it, and you'll fall in love with it.
Yes.
So we
Well,
encourage
I
people to
think
come and look.
whatever you're doing, we need to get the rest of the justice system to do, because again, I'm going to say 91 to 94% success rate is a phenomenal thing. And so you're in collaboration, and this nonprofit status that has you independent. How many other counties are like that when it comes to their teen courts?
We're one of 3.
Okay.
So
In the state of Florida,
54
right?
across the state are run out of their court admin, their law enforcement agencies, or the schools. And I was in, just to piggyback what you just said, Jacksonville for a Florida Association meeting this month, and they were saying that teen court, really in 1988, opening our doors in Sarasota, the first in the state, the others, whether it's drug court, whether it's mental health court, VA, Veterans Court, teen court was a model for that. And I had never thought about that.
Really?
But as you think, a judge up in Jacksonville was saying that. And he's been around a really long time. And he said, so, kudos to Debbie Gigliotti, Judge Logan, and Katie Self in this community that said, you know what? We're doing something wrong if we're not giving kids a second chance free of a conviction.
And this was 20 years ago?
30.
30 years ago in
1980.
Sarasota
And the Junior
County.
League. The League of Women Voters went to the Junior League and said, we have a problem. We have young people going into the juvenile court system and having doors in their future closed to them. And the Junior League chair, Debbie Gigliotti, searched across the country and found this program in Odessa, Texas, and brought it back to Sarasota. And we opened our doors in 1988. So very, very special adults in this community that care about children.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that's what we need.
Well, you can't argue with success, and I think Sarasota has a lot to be proud of. This was the county that brought paper ballots statewide. I don't know if you know that, but we started that here.
Oh.
People I know did that, but then here you've got a model for everybody, people getting their life on track and intervening in a very early time
Yes.
in their lives. So,
Yes.
there's so much negative out there. We're here to celebrate what's positive in our community, and you ladies are doing that every day. So I want to thank you all.
Thank you.
Emma
Thank you.
Joels, who
Thank
is
you.
a board member, Andrea Alvarez, Heather Todd, you've been at the helm for 20 years. Let's put the website
4
up.
years. Just
Oh,
but
oh,
a case
right.
manager for 16.
You've
I
been
just
at the
we had
helm,
a great
I'm sorry,
executive
for
director
4
before.
years,
That's right.
executive director, but you've been there for
Yes,
20 years.
yes,
Yeah,
thank you so
you
much.
so much, everybody, for watching. And go to Teen Court if you get the chance. Have a great day.
The time really flew. We bid you adieu from community. If you want to know why we love it here, so check out Community. Well, it's a who's who, a what's, when, and where show. It's a mover and shakers who care show. Meet your neighbors and friends, each one has a passion. The topic's very